Welcome to the Yvonne Candy Show. Motivational, inspirational, and just plain fun. Where celebrities check in and you can check out what's fresh in entertainment, business, health, finance, and more. It's all about your lifestyle. Here's your host, Yvonne Candy.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on our first live stream. And it has been crazy episode here of the Yvonne Candy Show. If you're interested in learning how you can improve your finances and your health spiritually, you want to hear my next guest. But first, I want to give you a little bit about information about our show. We are a lifestyle show. We're here to help you improve your health, finances, business, and more. Now, if you want to join the conversation today, please call 888-329-3306. 888-329-3306. And also, if you're watching us on Facebook, just click that wow button, like, tag us, or leave a comment and let us know where you're at. Now, my next guest, he is known as the spiritual warrior. Yes, he's out there fighting crime, guys. It's Reverend. I'd start to say Bill. Can I call you Bill?
You could call me Bill. You're a friend. Well,
it is Reverend Bill Bean. I like to introduce him as, but I've been knowing him for so long now. We've been talking off and on for years.
Yep.
So if I call him Bill, I'm sorry, you're Bill to me.
You're my friend, so Bill is fine.
So at any rate, Bill is going to be talking about how you can improve your health, your mental health, your finances. If money seems to just slide through your fingers, Bill is here to tell you why. He's going to give an explanation for that at least, and tell you how you can improve those conditions. Welcome to the show, Bill.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on. I've been looking forward to this. And this is a little different for me in the sense that I usually go on supernatural type of shows, so it's refreshing to me and for me that I would come on such a show as this, to where it's really reaching out to a broader spectrum of people.
Yes, yes. Our audience is a broad spectrum of people. This is not about religion, guys. It's not about religion. It isn't the, maybe a little paranoia. Not paranoia, but paranormal.
Paranormal, which can lead to some paranoia.
It is paranoia.
Yeah.
Because what we do when we have certain experience in life, which we're going to talk about, is we developed a certain mindset.
Correct.
And I think Reverend Bill is here to explain to us how we got that mindset and how we can change that mindset. I call it the paradigm.
Yeah.
Now, Bill has had experiences of his own. Tell us about that, Bill.
My goodness. I've had experiences all my life. It started in childhood.
Excuse me. Go ahead.
And my family was literally destroyed by demonic forces. I was nearly destroyed as well. Mm-hmm. And look, I didn't come on your show to preach a sermon today, but I came to speak truth and to have some real talk, and some real, some of this information is downright terrifying and startling as well. I can't change the fact that it really happened. I mean, the first experience I had was at age 5, and I was physically attacked by an unseen force that did horrific things to me. That was the first time. It happened many times over the years. But my mother suffered far greater abuse than I ever did. She, in fact, Yvonne, suffered more than any other person I've ever seen in my life. And this went on for 10 years. I am so thankful to God that not only did he save me from destruction, but then actually transform my life from victim to victor. And let me tell you, it was not an easy process. And just like you said a few minutes ago about developing patterns and getting into certain habits, you know, we all do this. This is part of human nature. So when a person wants to have a certain type of transformation, especially if you are, you know, under attack from evil in that way, it's very difficult, and it is impossible without the power of God and the assistance of God to be able to pull us through and transform us in that way.
But doesn't it take a certain amount of self-realization to even get to the point of knowing what's going on? I mean, you have to become in touch with yourself in some sort of way. Who's going to take this direction? What person would normally take this direction and looking into what you're saying?
Yeah.
Because they're probably thinking, oh, all my life, my father had bad luck. You know, my grandfather had bad luck. You know, he lost his business. You know, the baby died.
Yeah.
And look at me. Now I'm doing the same thing.
And these are all good points that you're making. These, in my opinion, based on my cases and certainly the experiences that I've had in my life, these are generational curses. And whether people know this or not, or want to know it, we are in spiritual warfare on a daily basis. So it's very important, certainly for someone like myself, in what God has called me to do by helping others now. I have to be in what I call warrior mode, which is faith, strength, and courage. I don't have any fear. So I was transformed from that scared little boy back in childhood that was attacked, over and over and over again. Family destroyed. Neither of my parents lived to see the age of 50. My mother died at the age of 44 from a cerebral hemorrhage. My father was shot to death at age 48. Many other family members mysteriously died or tragically died during the course. I have very little family left. But through all of this, and Yvonne, let me tell you, as a child, I lived in such fear that if it were just my mom and I in the house and she had to use the bathroom, I would wait outside the bathroom door until she came out.
Yeah, you said something about that your family had got this new house when you were a child.
Yeah.
And was it in that house?
Yeah, and really I found out, now I've written 6 books, and I've currently rewritten the original story, which is called Dark Force, and it's now called Dark Force Revisited.
Right.
And the reason I went back to it is to add additional content, a bonus chapter, letting people know what happened after the house, how I got to where I am now, and the process in between. But yes, I thought in the original version of Dark Force that it started when moving into that house. But I was wrong about that. I found out that my mother and my father as well, they were experiencing supernatural things long before moving into that house, and there were family tragedies long before moving into that house. So I'm convinced now, based on what I came to know, that 2 family members many, many, many years ago, before my mother was even born, had actually conjured up demonic forces and invited them in. So that was the first thing.
So they were some sort of sorcerers or
correct
witches?
And so they invoked and opened the doorway for these demons to come through. And so that in itself was enough to have a devastating effect on the family. Furthermore, after that, I found out that my mother actually lived in that very area, which is in Glen Burnie, Maryland, an area community called Herondale. She actually lived in that area as a teenager. So she was, exposed to that area before going back. And yes, I do believe that not only was it the influence of those demonic entities that were summoned that came in, but it also created this generational curse. And in fact, I think that my parents were led to that house. So God can lead us in many ways, and he can bestow many blessings upon us. Well, the devil mocks everything that God does, and he puts a vulgar twist on it. So I feel that the devil led my parents to that house where evil was already present and manifest in the home and in the area, and that put my family and I in the middle of a perfect storm from evil, and that's why it was so severe, and that's why we were so greatly affected.
Do you think that that's the case with a lot of people?
Yes.
Do you think somewhere in the ancestry tree that someone was dabbling with witchcraft?
Yes. Not in all cases, but in a lot, yes. And another thing that I find in a large percentage of my cases today, and I'm sorry to say this, it pains me to say it, but it goes back to childhood with a lot of people because they had suffered some form of child molestation, rape, some type of violent thing that caused great trauma. So when these traumas are created, and I don't care if it's childhood or in adult years or whatever, when these types of traumas are created, the pineal gland, which New Agers would call the third eye, and the adrenal glands, they will, secretions will come out of these glands with blood when a person is exposed to that high level of trauma. Demons are attracted to that like candy. And
but how do they get into those situations? Or is it what do you call it? Is it demonistic, in other words?
Well, yes.
Or is it, because what's the difference between demons and ghost?
Well,
because now, which is it? Is it a demon or is it a ghost?
Question. That's a very good question. Yeah. I do believe that both exist. However, I'll say this. Demons can impersonate our long-lost loved ones. They're called familiar spirits. And with the ghostly phenomena, I don't pretend to have all the answers on that, except to say that it is possible, in my opinion, that perhaps from our essence, from our life essence, that we could leave behind a type of energy imprint that may play over and over and over again from our essence leaving the earth. That would be the best way to describe some type of ghostly phenomena. But I have to say, Yvonne, in probably 99% of the cases that involves paranormal supernatural phenomena, it is demonic in nature, and it is increasing.
They call it lesions, don't they?
Yeah, well, they can say that, absolutely. And it's all designed in fear-based, trauma-based tactics. It's all bully tactics. So when I go back in my childhood as a little boy, a scared little boy that suffered horrible things, and even these things can bleed over into everyday mundane things. They can bleed into the finances. They can bleed into the well-being, the mental well-being of a person. So all this goes hand in hand. So we have to be strong in mind, body, and spirit. So as an exorcist deliverance minister, I go in, yes, by the power of God. And let me make it very clear to you and everybody else. I don't claim these gifts as my own. I say it's the power of God that works through me to do and to be able to do what I do, and I can never thank God and praise God enough for that. He called me to do this. I didn't seek to do this. This is something that I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would be doing.
Weren't you into, were you into sports or something?
Oh, yeah, I was a great athlete, and my thoughts back then, in childhood, I wanted to be a baseball player. I suffered a serious injury as a child, and that was supernatural in itself. And that kind of ended, any hopes and aspirations of that. Then I wanted to be a police officer, as a child, and then a professional wrestler. That was my escape from all of the horrors that were taking place in the house. But I'll give you another example. My father was a very good man. He was a very blessed man. He was blessed with the ability to be successful at anything that he chose to do in life. However, he was experiencing supernatural phenomena in the house, was actually being physically attacked himself. Now, my father was a very strong man. He was a man's man. He was used to being in charge of every situation. And so can you imagine now, this is a man that fears no one, and all of a sudden, he's being physically attacked by these entities as well. So that, in my opinion, looking back on it, I believe that confounded his mind so much that he began to drink very heavily. And this was an escape from reality. And he began, when he started that journey into alcoholism, he became a raging alcoholic who physically abused my mother on a regular basis between 1973 and 1975, nearly killed her on several occasions. Yvonne, I can recall being 7 and 8 years old, having to run to neighbors to get the police call on my own father because he was killing my mother.
Wow.
Now, based on everything that I saw and witnessed, I have no doubt, and especially being where I am now and knowing what I know, I have no doubt that those demonic forces were able to literally enter him at the point of being under the influence and fuel his rage towards my mother, because the agenda of the devil is to kill, rob, and destroy.
Right.
And so this man, who was a great man, was robbed of his victory. And it's so sad and tragic. And he ended up, again, neither of my parents lived to see the age of 50. And I very much hated my father for a long time, and I praise God that I was able to forgive him before his untimely death. So we could go on and on and on, and I know that time is, of the essence.
Well, I wanted to know, and can you hand me that right there too?
This?
The paper.
Oh.
Sorry. I wanted to know how, but first, tell me some of your experiences, because you say these demonic things were happening to you.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get a little bit more into detail, because I want the audience to relate. If you're out there, if you've had some sort of paranormal experience, I know, for instance, somebody was telling me that they felt like they were clamped down in the bed and they couldn't move.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a demonic attack.
But
there's nothing godly about that.
Let me tell you what was told. When we inquired about it, it was explained to them that their body, when they went to sleep, their body woke up before their mind, or their mind woke up before their body. And, it just wasn't going together. So in other words, their eyes probably was open and their body wasn't moving.
So it's sleep paralysis. That's what they try to say. And look, Yvonne, I'm not trying to push anything on anybody.
Yeah, I've had that. Yeah.
There are demons of the night that will come and launch attacks on people in their sleep. Now, I don't want people to be afraid by what I'm saying here, but the way that we can arm ourselves is by the power of God. And there are prayers that I say every night. Oftentimes, I don't get to bed before 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. I don't care how late it is. I don't care how tired I am. I say a spiritual warfare prayer. And so we're invoking the power of God. When we do that, we do become armed and dangerous against the enemy and his minions, and they will leave us alone, and they'll go to somebody else because they look for the weak. They pick on the weak.
Right. So that's what you have to do. When you get in a position like that, you have to pray.
Oh, absolutely.
Pray your way out of it.
I call warrior mode 24/7.
That's
and
right.
when we're in that type of warrior mode, we're in faith, strength, and courage, and we refuse to lose. I declare victory in each and every day of my life as well, and I will do so for the rest of my life.
Well, another incident. I'm quite sure that there's been some people out there that have experienced seeing dark shadows, maybe, or maybe people standing in their home. If you've had any of these experiences, please let us know. Join the conversation, 888-329-3306.
And back to your question, Yvonne.
3306.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Back to your question. We saw 5 different entities in that home over a 10-year period. We moved in there in 1970. We left in December of 1980. There were 4 what I believe demonic entities, and 1 entity I believe to be divine. The 4 demonic entities, one was, they all looked sinister, and they all had this chalky white, pale look to them, except for one. One was a hooded entity, black hooded entity with glowing red eyes. The other entities, 2 male entities, one had black hair, black beard, black eyes, wore a black suit, sometimes wore a black hat. Very, very sinister looking thing. And then the other entity, male entity, red hair, short red hair, curly, a long scar down the left side of its face.
And you can see that kind of detail?
Clearly.
Oh, my goodness.
And these are entities that not only attacked me, but were attacking my mother on a regular basis. My dad left home. He left in 1975. Thank God he left, because had he not left, I'm convinced he would have killed my mother. So he left us in 1975. After he left, my poor mother did not get a break from physical abuse after that, because then the entities began to physically abuse her to the point to where she couldn't sleep in her bed anymore. She had to sleep in with us. My mother had cuts, bruises, scratches, bite marks on her, all kinds of things like that long after my dad had left.
What about mental illness? Okay, and also, let's say drug abuse.
Sure, it all goes hand in hand.
These things are demonic forces. Is that what you're saying?
All life operates on frequency and vibration. So if we are on high frequency, high vibration, life is good, life is positive, we are moving forward. Nobody's perfect, and nobody has a perfect life. We all have a set of issues and challenges in life, but when we're on high, for me, I trust in God. I have so much faith in God that I know He's going to get me through whatever situation comes in a negative, adverse way. So I don't worry about it. But when the person's on low, and believe you me, I have been there. When a person is on low, life is a challenge, to say the least. It's like the person is cursed. It's like they have a black cloud over their head. There's always a problem. There's always a drama. There's always a situation, and there's never an answer. And that is low frequency, low vibration.
Wow.
So part of my job as a spiritual warrior for God and what I do now to help people to become free from this is I have to, by the power of God, get the person's frequency and vibration raised back up on high so they can be free from this and have a totally new mindset. Now, this is easier said than done because it goes back to what you said earlier in the interview about people being in patterns and habits. So certain patterns and habits have to be broken in order to move forward in this way.
So what do you do exactly as a spiritual warrior?
Yeah.
How do you bring these people out of their depression?
Yeah.
How do you stop the madness from the demonic forces?
Well, the first thing I do is listen to them. So I listen to their stories. If someone sees me on TV or they hear an interview like this and they see me, well, they'll contact my site, and then my assistant Melinda will get back to them and she'll schedule them. She'll make the initial contact with them, and then I'll have an idea of what's going on, and then I will make contact with them. And then I want to hear their story. So they'll tell me what's going on. If I go to them, the first thing that I do when I arrive at their home, I've also been brought into companies as well to help people in businesses. Churches. I've been flown to several churches around the country that had demonic problems, and they called me to come and get rid of the demonic problems. Amazing, right? It's true. So the first thing that I would do is go to that place and say a blessing over the land. That's the very first thing that I would do. And then I would call on God and ask him to send his giant warrior angels to take into custody any demons that may be in, on, or around the property, the home, the family, if they have pets, whatever it may be. Then I ask God to have those angels carry those demons off and deposit them back into the pits of hell where they belong. So then I will enter into the home, say several prayers. I'll anoint everybody's head. I anoint everybody's head with a combination of holy water, holy oil, holy salt, and frankincense. And then I will recite several prayers at the front door, including a house blessing prayer. Then I sit down and I have to become a counselor. And we sit down, and it's not that I want to know everybody's deep and dark secrets. I have to know it because the devil deals in legal rights. So if he feels that he has a legal right to be there, he will be there, and God will allow it.
Right.
So the more that we sit down and talk, and the more that the people purge, and that's exactly what it is. So they're telling me all their deepest and darkest, and it's a purging. And the more they talk, the more we're purging. And as we're getting it all up, out, and off, then I can engage those demonic forces in spiritual warfare by the power of God, binding and rebuking and casting them out by the mighty power of Yahweh in Jesus' name. And then I have to go through the entire home after I have performed the deliverance exorcism over the person. And it is involved. Yvonne, there's some times that I've been in a person's house all night.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Are you performing an exorcism?
Yeah, in some cases, yes.
And this is so funny because you wouldn't believe that these things could possibly have something to do with your finances.
Oh.
You can't keep money in your pocket.
It's true.
You can't keep money in the bank. It just will not stay there.
Absolutely true.
It's always something coming up. It's always an emergency.
It is an attack. So it's an attack launched by the devil, whether people want to believe this or not. And you're free to believe whatever you want to believe. I'm telling you the truth, but you can believe whatever you want to believe. The devil is intent on destruction. So he wants to kill, rob, and destroy. And that is all about robbing the person of their finances. I can't tell you how many cases I've had where people said, oh, I was doing so well financially. Everything was great.
Yeah.
And then this happened. You know, I felt this garbage come in. And I've lost my business. I've lost my home. I've lost my marriage. I've lost everything.
And even your health.
Everything. Yes.
Everything. These demonic forces, you know, it's the first time I've heard that.
That's a copter going over.
Yeah, that's the first time.
Yeah, no surprise about that.
These demonic forces actually can take lives.
No question. Now, this is the tricky part of this, okay? If we go back to the book of Job, where Job was, the devil went to God and he said, look, I can turn your good and faithful servant Job against you. And God said, okay, you can do anything you want, but you can't kill him. So demons cannot come to us face to face, head on, and kill us. Now, this is by the power of God. However, they can create so much damage, and they can aid and abet and amplify and magnify to the point where people can die. And furthermore, in my mother's case, my grandmother's case, my mother died 2 months and 2 days after my grandmother, her mom. These were the two closest people to me in my life at the time, and they were suddenly gone. I have no doubt, Yvonne, in those two cases and in other cases in my family, that demonic influence greatly contributed to those deaths.
Wow. How do you come to this type of realization outside of shows like this? I hope that it helps someone.
I pray that it does.
Some people, I'm quite sure they don't believe in it. They have their own beliefs, and that's fine.
And that's their right.
However, those of you who are interested in finding out more, you can always get in touch with Reverend Bill Bean, and we're going to give you his information in a minute. However, if you're watching us on Facebook, because we are streaming live simultaneously here with WWDB AM, which you can also go to their website and listen, and you can download a copy of this show. So you don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about losing the information or anything like that. But go to www.dbam.com and you can download a copy of this show if you want to, get the address of Reverend Bean or anything like that.
Yeah.
Also, leave a comment if you're watching on Facebook and let us know where you're from. I'm not on Facebook right now. I cannot see what's going on. I'm sorry about that. However, we will be on every Tuesday. This was our first show, and I hope that it's a good show, but however, it will just get better and better. However, we will be on every Tuesday on Yvonne Candy Radio, and that's at 4 p.m., and you will hear some inspiring success stories from entrepreneurs and celebrities from around the country, whether they'll be in our studio or whether they will be calling in. You will be inspired and entertained. We will have anything that have to do with your lifestyle, on whether it's food, whether it's business, whether it's health, whether it's fashion. So tune in on Tuesday, and that's 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to finish up with Reverend Bean. He has a new book out, Connection, and then you also have the Dark Force Revisit.
Yeah, so I wrote 2 books in 2018, The Connection and Stranger Than Fiction, and now here in 2019, I have written Dark Force Revisited. And the reason I wanted to go back to the story again, Yvonne, is that I felt it important that
just a minute.
Sure.
What I'd like you guys to do is just go to WWDB AM and get a copy of this show. But for those of you who are listening on the radio, we are going to wind up right now. And thank you so much for listening. And don't forget to live the life you deserve.
Thanks for listening to the Yvonne Candy Show. Want to know more? Check out YvonneCandy.com.